Today I want to get into something that's called imposter syndrome. So I'm going to start with asking the question, are you an imposter or do you feel like an imposter? I've touched on this concept in previous videos, but I think it's important enough that it actually deserves its own video. Imposter syndrome is it's that quiet whisper that we might get that makes us believe that we're not good enough, and it keeps us stuck. And that's the feeling like an imposter is normal, especially when you're starting something new. And this is whether you're pursuing a side hustle, pursuing a new career, or chasing a dream that you've had sitting on the shelf nice and pretty for years. That fear of being found out it's almost universal. Here's the thing that I want to drive home, and that's just because you feel like you are an imposter, it doesn't mean that you are one. Welcome back to another episode of Sweat Talk. My name is Chad. Let's think about that phrase, fake it till you make it. On the surface, that phrase, it sounds like it's a confidence booster. Pretend that you've got it all together until you actually do. But I believe that phrase can actually be more damaging than it is helpful. When you say I'm faking it, your subconscious mind doesn't just hear I'm gaining confidence. Your subconscious mind hears I'm a fraud. It reinforces that belief that you don't belong and that you're pretending to be something that you're not. Think about what that does. It feeds that belief that you are an imposter. Instead of faking it, let's embrace a different mindset. Let's tell ourselves and affirm to ourselves something different. Tell yourself that you're new and that you're not faking anything. You're just learning. You're a beginner. And that's okay. Every single expert at some point in time also started as a beginner. And you can reaffirm this to yourself if you think about the people that you admire. Did they just magically wake up one day and have that skill that you admire? Or did they just wake up one day and have that confidence that they do now? When you ask those questions, you're going to realize that hell no, they didn't. They were just getting started somewhere new, just like you are. We can look at Bill Gates, for example. He did not wait till Microsoft was perfect before he released it. He started with what he had and he just went and improved it along the way. And if you think about it like that, you'll realize that if he had waited till everything was perfect, Microsoft still wouldn't exist. And somebody else would have filled that void, taking his place. And that same thing applies to you. And waiting for that perfect moment or that perfect time, that perfect skill, the perfect weather, or that perfect condition, it's going to do nothing but keep you trapped in the same place you are right now. Because remember that perfection is the enemy of progress. Instead of aiming for perfection, aim for that progress and realize that every single small step forward is one step closer to your goal. And here's a secret that most people aren't willing to tell you, and that's that nobody has everything figured out. Nobody has it all figured out. We're all just doing our best, and we are all learning as we go. Imposter syndrome, it feels personal because it attacks your sense of self-identity. It makes you question whether you have the right to take up space in the field that you're chasing, or you have the right to pursue your dreams. If we zoom out and look at the big picture, imposter syndrome isn't just about you. It's actually more about societal pressures. And if you think about it like this, we live in a world that glorifies expertise and perfection. And social media can make that even worse when we see everybody out there showcasing their highlight reels and their success. We get stuck in that comparison trap when we see somebody else's success, and it'll make us think to ourselves like, I can never measure up to that. We don't see the endless mistakes and the failures and the amount of hours and practice that it took to achieve what we are seeing. We're not able to see all of the effort that was put in to get to that place of success. Remind yourself that comparison is a thief of joy. It's a thief of success, and your journey is unique to you. You don't have to be an expert today, but you need to take those first steps. If you're stuck in that imposter syndrome, you need to take a couple of steps to to get out of it. You need to ask yourself a couple of questions and do a couple of things, simple things that are going to get you started on your journey. And number one is embrace being a beginner. There's no shame in starting at square one. And in fact, I believe that there's actually power in it. Beginners have the freedom to experiment. They have the ability to make mistakes and without pressures or expectations. Number two would be focus on learning and not proving. When you approach a new challenge, shift your mindset from proving your worth to learning and improving. Understand that the more that you learn, the more comfortable you are going to feel. Number three is celebrate those small wins. This is probably one that you've heard me say ad nausea, but you hear me say it so often because I truly do believe that it's that important. Every milestone, no matter how small it is, it's proof that you are moving in the direction that you want to be. Keep a journal or at least a mental record of your progress, because focusing on how far you've come, it can help quiet that inner critic that we all get stuck with. Number four is separate your feelings from fact. Feeling like an imposter, it doesn't mean that you are one. Write down those achievements as they come along. When you write those things down, look at them objectively. When you do that, it's going to allow you the ability to take a larger view of the big picture. And you are going to see that you've actually become further than you're giving yourself credit for. Number five is ask for feedback, because sometimes we are going to be too close to our work to actually see that progress. You can seek that feedback from a trusted friend or a mentor, because their feedback is going to ultimately allow you even more opportunities to see the growth and the progress that you've achieved. Number six is visualize your future. Reach out and touch your future. Just close your eyes and imagine yourself 6 months from now, a year from now, and truly embrace that. And when you do that, that is how you are going to touch your future. Just imagine how much you'll learn and grow by then. Look back to where you were just 5 years ago. Look back to where you were just 6 months ago, and you'll see you are not the same person, whether it's good or bad. We can also look at people who we might admire, who have just done incredible and pushed through that imposter syndrome. J.K. Rowling, she was denied by 12 publishers before Harry Potter actually found and landed a contract deal. 12. Just imagine if she had given up and believed that she wasn't a real writer. Hello. Albert Einstein, he was quoted as calling himself an involuntary swindler, because people saw him as the intellectual giant that he is. But meanwhile, he would sit back and he would question his own beliefs. If we look at these two stories, or we look at these two examples, it's going to remind us that, hello, hey bud, you're all right. If we look at these two stories or these two examples, it's going to remind us that feeling like an imposter, it's not something new. It's not a sign of failure. It's actually a sign of growing. One of the most liberating ways to overcome imposter syndrome is to own your story. Share your struggles and your journey with other people. In my opinion, vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness. Something that I've learned is when you're honest about where you're at, people are going to relate to you more than you could ever realize. And you might actually be able to inspire somebody else to start their journey. To beat this imposter syndrome, develop a growth mindset. This means viewing challenges to grow, and instead of challenges being a threat to your self-worth. When you make mistakes, don't look at them as proof or validation that you don't belong. Instead, change that way of thinking and see them as pavers or stepping stones along the path in the direction that you ultimately want to go to. And stand back and ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? Instead of fearing failure, just know and understand that we need to welcome that shit and see it more as a teacher. Because failure, it is a part of the journey. I've had multiple businesses fail. And I can tell you from experience that I would not be here talking to you today had I let my fear of failure in the past keep me down. And I know for certain that the more you do this, the less that imposter syndrome will be able to control you. A perfect example of that is this YouTube channel. And I even shared it in one of my videos. Coming out here is difficult. Being in public and making these videos, it's difficult. And in the beginning, when I first started doing this, I even made a video where I talked about it and how difficult it was, and how sometimes I feel like an imposter, but the reality is I'm just new at it. And I don't remember what video it was, but I do remember in that video I was talking about how I feel like an imposter. But when I look at the channel analytics and I see the growth and all of the positive feedback, everybody finding value in the content that I was putting out, I still didn't feel worthy. Even though I had raw, hard data that actually proved me wrong, I still questioned it. And remember that imposter syndrome, it doesn't discriminate. We all experience it. People can say that they don't, but in my opinion, that's just a bald-faced lie. And we can see evidence of it being a bald-faced lie just by our examples of Albert Einstein. Because imposter syndrome, it affects everybody. It affects the successful entrepreneurs. It affects the creators of the world, and of course us, the everyday people. Know that even people that are at the top of their game, they experience this too. Eventually they will get to a point in their journey that it's not a big thing, but in the beginning, it's one hell of a thing. It's a very real thing. But the difference is they did not let it stop them, and neither should you. So when that voice comes into your mind and starts whispering to you that I'm not good enough, respond to that shit with I'm just getting started, and that's good enough for now. You're not an imposter. You're a beginner. You're a learner, and you are just getting started. And that is exactly who you need to be right now. Keep going. Keep growing. The world needs what you have to offer. We all have something to offer. And it's time you start believing in yourself. It's time you start giving yourself credit for the things that you have accomplished in your life. Next time you feel like giving up, or next time you feel like you are an imposter, remind yourself that the only real imposter is the ones that are giving up. Step up and experience the journey. Let that fear of being an imposter fuel your growth, not hold you back. You are enough just how you are. You don't need to know it all. You don't have to have it all figured out. You have to keep moving forward. The world is waiting for your unique contribution. Don't let that imposter syndrome hold you back. If you made it this far, do me a favor and go down in the comments section and write the word beginner. Just that one word, beginner. This is the beginning. You are a beginner. You are starting and doing something great as long as you keep moving forward and reminding yourself that you are not an imposter. I ask for these one-word comments because there's power in them. There's so much power in our words that we don't give it credit for. We don't know how to speak to ourselves. Sometimes we'll think that we're actually speaking to ourselves in a positive manner or through a positive lens, but the reality is we're not. That's one of the reasons that holds people back from being able to manifest the life of their dreams. And these one-word comments, they do several things. When we see these things repetitively, they allow us the opportunity to reprogram our subconscious mind. They allow us to positively affirm the beliefs and the speech that we need to use for ourselves in certain situations. Every like, comment, and every time somebody subscribes, the YouTube algorithm sees that, and it will continue to push this content out so that more people can find value in it. It also gives me an opportunity to say thank you to every one of you guys that sticks around to the end. I know who you are, and I do have the ability to say thank you because I appreciate each and every one of you. I want to thank you guys for the super thanks that you keep giving me. You blow me away every day, and I truly am grateful for them. Thank you. With that, as you can see, I'm running out of sunlight, so I got to cut it. I got to get back to my vehicle. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for showing up. I want to thank you for your support. I hope you're showing up for yourselves, and I hope each and every one of you has a wonderful day. Peace.